Oh dear.
Here we go, episode 3 of Oh Dear. Welcome back. Happy New Year. Made it to 2021. Despite what everyone on the internet thought, things stayed the same, even though it went from 2020 to 2021. But we are back here. Dustin Moore, how was your Christmas?
It was good. Hung around the house. My daughter had a lovely Christmas, spoiled by Santa. So things are good around here.
And going over now to the host with the most booster seats, Kevin Walsh. How was your holidays?
Yeah, holidays were good. I mean, it's pretty quiet as we're supposed to do. The weather was beautiful, so just trying to get outside as much as we can with the kids and keep everyone from going too stir crazy inside the house.
And you're back for episode 3, so you know what? That's 2 in a row for you. That's your longest streak so far.
That's right. New year, new me.
Bring back the old Kevin.
And last but not least, if he was the prize in a race, everyone would be running backwards. Ryan Lund, welcome back.
Thanks, Ted. You're not going to ask me how my Christmas was?
I kind of thought it was implied.
Like, you obviously don't care how my Christmas was.
Well, I don't,
no,
but I
fine.
guess, how was your Christmas?
I mean, it sucked, man. Like, I think everyone was expecting it to suck. I mean, it was as good as it could have been, like everything considered. Went over to my dad's because he lives alone, so it's allowed. Had supper, had a great Christmas dinner. That was Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day, yeah, didn't really do anything.
See, this is why I didn't ask, because you just brought everybody down right off the hop. So just say good, and then we'll cut it to that, and we'll get on with our lives here. Ryan, how was your Christmas?
Ted, it fucking sucked. No, it was good. It was good. I mean, I think everyone's happy to get it over and done with and get 2020 behind us now. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Christmas 2021.
I have a question for you too. Ryan, what did you get Ted for Christmas?
I impressed even myself, Kev. I got him a mask, and he's been going on and on about the Golden Girls. So I got him a Golden Girls mask, and
it is amazing.
Yeah, I think I knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, I didn't know we were doing gifts. Luckily, I bought him some beer, which I think is, I don't know if I could get you a better gift.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was more, yeah. But no, it was a great mask. It was Red Raven Crafts. So yeah, now I've got 4 of the most important women in my life on a mask all the time, and I'll cherish it forever. So yeah, you surprised me. A, you listened to something that I said, and B, yeah, you were pretty thoughtful there, and I appreciate it. So yeah, I guess my Christmas couldn't have been better.
Oh, you're welcome, Teddy.
So that might actually roll in perfectly. We're going to start off with the Glad game again, and I want to start off by saying something. Been thinking this for a while, and I'm sure other people have said this, but Dustin, you deserve a lot of credit because you're the most well-connected guy in Red Deer, and you happen to have a pretty close personal friendship with Santa. Now, we gave Santa a hard time for not coming here, and he did. But I think it's amazing that you called Santa, in a COVID year where kids couldn't go and see Santa. For some people, it was their first chance to take their kids to see Santa. You called up Santa and got him to go around our friends and on their doorsteps and safely meet the kids and stuff. And I think might have even meant more to the parents than it did to the kids. And a shout out too, I believe Dave McInerney actually introduced you to Santa. But I think it deserves to be said that even though I don't have kids, seeing that and seeing people's picture on social media was a pretty amazing and a great example of people coming up with kind of doing cool, creative, innovative things to make 2020 as good as they could. So no backhanded compliment here, just big props to you for that.
I got the body for it, so it was a pretty easy slide into that suit. I was a little worried.
Well, you mean you have the body? You have the body to call Santa and ask him to go to people's houses?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, sorry.
And let's be honest, we're all kids at heart. So when I saw Santa Claus, my eyes lit up, and it just made my day.
I don't know. My doctor told me I have a heart of an 80-year-old, but that might be something different.
Yeah.
I thought Santa was very thoughtful in his gifts to you guys.
Oh yeah, he's very thoughtful. It's kind of a little bit of a jerk move, but he's a busy guy. So
yeah, well, we kind of already established that Santa's a jerk, but it was still nice to see him, and it started off our holiday season right.
That's the first time I've been iced by Santa Claus, and I don't think, and I've got a sneaking suspicion it's not going to be the last time.
After what you said, I think you deserved it.
Yeah, I did. I did call him out last time, didn't I? I didn't even think he was listening to the podcast, but I guess he knows when we're sleeping. He knows when we're awake. I guess he's got time to listen to a podcast.
Teddy, I appreciate the compliment of my connections with Santa. I'll go next. I'll go. I think I'm turning my attention here to Lundy. And I got a couple for you here tonight, Lundy, because typically you're the guy that gets backhanded complimented. And well, first of all, I'd like to say I'd like to thank you for being my body double. I think we're pretty similar in nature in our bodies. You're about 15 pounds lighter. I'm about 2 inches bigger. Height. But
where are you going with this?
anyways, my two compliments, although I'm thankful for the body double, is you're definitely number one on my speed dial whenever I want to have a good night. There's no doubt that if I text you, you're in, you're game, you're ready to go. So appreciate that. And my second one is I appreciated all the years you organized a huge Beersby tournament out at your lake house. I think it got up to over 150 people the one year and you had to tone it down. But I think I am the last ever champ of the tournament, and I'll cherish that memory of you forever.
He had to get a pat on the back, self pat on the back in there, even though it was a nice compliment.
Yeah, I don't know what all that body talk ahead of time was. I mean, you could have just gave me those two compliments and that would have been it. That would have been perfect.
I think we found out, actually, I'm going to interject with a quick story about how Lund is not your body double, because remember the night you decided to have a little fashion show and try on everything in Lund's closet, and Dustin comes out wearing Lund's pants. He goes, Lund, why do you buy your pants so short? That's so stupid. I said, Dustin, you're like 4 inches taller than him. Of course his pants don't fit.
Yeah, he pulled a Joey Tribbiani and tried on every single one of my shirts in my closet, and he looked like Chris Farley. That's how big he was. So I guess
that's a good analogy.
Yeah,
Chris Farley times Joey Tribbiani.
Yeah,
perfect.
So for those of you that haven't seen Dustin before, just picture if those two had a baby. That's what Dustin Moore would look like,
and shaved off its eyebrows.
Yeah. So thanks for the compliments. Yeah, that Beersby tournament, we did that for about 10 years. I think a lot of our listeners may have even participated. We got up to 180 players one year. And we're thinking once all this COVID stuff is done, we might do it again sometime in the future. Maybe not this summer, but maybe we'll do it when we're all 40 years old and want to relive our youth.
And everyone who's listening is invited.
We'll just have to. We'll see what my parents think, because it's still it's their property.
Yeah, I don't want you to get grounded.
Hey, as long as your dad's still on the grill making the hamburgers, I'm good.
Oh yeah, Don makes the best burger in Gull Lake for sure. So I guess it's my turn to give a nice compliment to Kev, and I'm just gonna give him one, and it's gonna be a good one. Kev, you are the most reliable person I know. When you say you're gonna do something, you actually do it, which is a rarity. So just keep being you, man.
Thanks, Lindy.
You guys see that? No extra stuff. No backhanded stuff. Just
you got in, you got out, and it was true, and it was very nice.
Yeah. Hey, you're welcome.
All right, so I'm going to talk about Ted. So I just want to bring up last episode. You brought up Blue Toes, the Christmas Elf movie, and as soon as you started talking about that, I had flashbacks to my own childhood, and the way you described the movie, I just thought, I have seen that. I can recall these images in my head. Luckily, I was able to find it on YouTube, and I was able to watch it with my kids. It was awesome. I remembered exactly what happened. I ended up making my kids watch it twice, and they somewhat liked it. I mean, it's a little old, and the version on YouTube was actually recorded on a VCR, so there's times where it gets all warped because you can tell that the film is like busted. So that also brought back memories. But overall, I had totally and completely forgotten about that. And I don't think I ever would have remembered it again if you hadn't brought it up. And I'm really happy you did, because like I say, it brought back some good memories, and I'm glad I was able to share with my kids. So thank you. As always, we're partners in nostalgia once again.
Yeah. And you know what? You might be the only person who actually watched it once I brought it up. Other than, I guess, my sister, and it gave my nephew nightmares. So that's a whoopsie. That's a whoopsie there. Sorry for the late nights I had to put up with him. So one for two is not bad though. And yeah, I'm always glad to have someone to share nostalgia with. So anyone listening right now probably hates this, because we were like super nice there, and it was nice to hear. We're gonna move on though. Oh, we have a guest waiting again. Went a little bit of a different angle this time on the guest. We've all seen him, and you know what? We'll bring him in and get into it here. You may have heard him. You may have seen him if you come to any of our events in Red Deer in the last couple of years. He's performed a couple times in Red Deer now, performed all across the country doing his stand-up comedy in Toronto, Vancouver, Halifax, Ottawa. He's also opened for some of the biggest names in comedy, including Brian Callen and Doug Stanhope. He's got an album, Working Comic, on Spotify right now. Highly recommend listening to that. And now he has his own podcast, Ness and Around, which you can download, I think, on any podcasting app. It's Todd Ness. Thanks a lot for joining us. It's great to have someone on our show that's actually paid to be funny.
Dude, thank you. And you did leave out that I've also performed in Innisfail, and I want people to know that.
Okay, do you want me to? We can start completely. You know what? I'll edit it in. The magic of editing. I'll start with Innisfail.
Yeah,
and work my way down. This year, obviously 2020, a little different for everyone, I can imagine, for a stand-up comic. But you've been on some pretty big podcasts lately, I've seen too. Some pretty popular ones. So I just want to say, on behalf of everyone from Oh Dear, welcome to the bottom.
Oh, hey, man. You know what? It's fun to do any podcast because I think it's at least we have the technology now to have conversations with each other. And so even though it is a weird time, obviously, this year, I don't know if people heard, but there was a pandemic that happened around the world, apparently. This is what I've been told.
It was the sourdough pandemic, yeah.
Sourdough pandemic. But at least I think the bright side is, at least it's happening in a time when we have Skype. Dude, imagine if this happened like literally even 10 years ago when we were all using like razors. Remember the razor, like the flip phone? We couldn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, you could play soccer with those things though. At least like those things are indestructible. But you're right, we'd be playing Snake or what was I'd be using my Texas Instruments graphing calculator, right, to play Pimp Wars or whatever it was. That'd be our life. You're right.
Yeah, that's all we would. So at least, we have video now and Skip the Dish. I mean, not so long ago, and these are the tales we will tell our grandchildren. There was a time where you couldn't even get a Slurpee delivered to your house. Could you imagine not being able to do that? And so at least the pandemic hit, but you could literally sit at home and almost miss nothing. Aside from, I would say, mosh pits, everything else you can recreate virtually or just by ordering it. So
yeah, hey, you're speaking to the choir on Skip the Dishes. Like I revealed last episode that I got called out by an Uber driver because he delivered Skip the Dishes to me so much. So 2020 for you, what I kind of want to know is an interesting year for a touring comic. So you were able to, in the summer when things lightened up, headline a couple shows and stuff. What was 2020 like for you and really the industry in general? I imagine, just like anyone else, pretty tough for a stand-up comic.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting to think that if you told any comic heading into the year that almost every live show is going to be canceled, there would be so much panic. And what's strange is that's what happened. I mean, everything was canceled. I did a couple shows in January, and then obviously starting mid-Feb, everything got canceled. We had a brief window of time later in the summer until like September where we were able to do local shows. So here at Yuck Yucks in Calgary, and then things got shut down again. And so I think it's just been a paradigm shift for having to refocus from live performance into where else can I put my energy? What else is even productive to do? Knowing that live shows are gone, are there other things within stand-up comedy that you can still do? Unfortunately, like I said, we have podcasting. That's a great outlet. That's part of the reason I started my own podcast, was just somewhere to still put my energy. But you're right. From a live show standpoint, it's been insane. And I think we saw a lot of innovation happen, though, for stand-up comics. I got to give props to the industry as a whole, found ways to perform in live streams, perform outside, perform in backyard shows. And I never really did any of that, but I was a little bit impressed with how inventive people got to still somehow deliver stand-up comedy in this environment.
And so for you, was 2020 a lot of working on new material? Obviously, you've got your podcast now, which I believe is a daily or almost daily podcast. So is that basically what 2020 has been for everyone else, just working on yourself?
I think so. So I speaking for myself, yeah, my podcast is daily. I'm putting out daily episode every single day. And part of it is because it's really fun to do. I can do it at home and it keeps me in the rhythm of doing it. And this is a perfect time to really hunker down and put all my energy into that, because I can spend time also writing material. But if I'm not performing live at least a couple times a week, there's nowhere for me. I can write down jokes. There's nowhere for me to take them. So the podcast kind of substitutes where I can express myself and then have an outlet for that. You're right. And then, for other people, I mean, it's just like anything else in life. It's like, a situation happens and you decide how you want to handle it. You can sit back and do nothing. You can try to start new stuff. You can try to morph what you're doing in a different way. So I think everyone's handled it a little bit differently. And like I said, some guys are out there and they're killing it with the live shows. Like some guys probably made just as much this year doing the Skype type shows. So I think everyone's handled it a bit differently, but we've been forced to, right? So.
And like I said, lucky for us, I don't know if you'd be on this Red Deer podcast right now, if not, but we definitely appreciate you being here. And again, I've kind of followed you on Instagram, follow a lot of comics on Instagram. To me, at least someone who thinks he's pretty funny, it's always been a really interesting profession. And I know for you, something you've been working on for a long time. Like what goes into that, especially, you being here in Alberta coming up, lots of great comedy in Alberta itself. For you, what was that step where you decided like, hey, I want to make some money making jokes? And then what goes into that and the process of really working on your craft? I know some people think it's as easy as stepping on a stage in front of a microphone and making jokes, but I think it's a cool opportunity to kind of learn that whole process from you.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone knows that you only get into stand-up comedy to make money. It's one of the most lucrative businesses that you could ever do. It's one of those things where I always knew that I wanted to do stand-up comedy. Even as a kid, I knew I wanted to do it. And so as soon as I turned 18, I signed up for open mic nights and that's how you start, is you go to open mics and you start popping in and you can do like 5-minute sets type thing on the open mics. And it's just like any other career. You move as much as you put, the time and the effort in. You kind of determine your own path. And so I started with doing open mics, and slowly, as you get better, there's comics that will come along like, hey, do you want to come with me on the road and come open for me in Grand Prairie? And in the beginning, I remember how excited I was. The first show that I ever got paid money was for an out of town gig was Grand Prairie. I remember I got the gig sheet and it said $80. And I could not believe someone was going to pay me $80. And, Grand Prairie is a 9-hour drive from here in the wind. Like, it's terrible, but I just couldn't believe. I was like, I'm going to tell jokes and someone's going to give me that much money for that. It blew my mind. Right. And then, you just keep going. And I think the key is that I've always wanted to do it. I've never thought about quitting. And stand-up is one of those things where, especially when you're driving around and you're doing so many road gigs in the early years and they're so far away, if you don't feel it completely and you're not really, really passionate and interested in doing it, it's so unglamorous in the beginning that it weeds you out right away.
And you talk about all those unglamorous gigs, and obviously you probably start off touring around, you mentioned Grand Prairie, around Alberta. Is there a spot in Alberta or just a gig in general that stands out in your mind as the absolute worst?
The worst show I ever had in my life was one up in Rocky Mountain House. And it was a corporate show that they hired me for their Christmas party. And I show up and it's at a Legion. So already that's a good sign. I mean, what could be a better venue for live comedy than a Legion, right? We already know there's good energy in there. And I went in and dance floor, there was beer pong, everyone was so drunk, and there was probably 200 people. And I talked to the contact and I was like, when are we starting the show? And they're like, you just start whenever you want. And I'm like, well, is everyone going to sit down? They're like, if they want to. And she pointed to like 20 chairs that were over in the corner. And she's like, that's where you'll do the show. And I realized that it wasn't like comedy was going to be part of the evening where everyone comes and sits down and watches the show. I was just a station set up at the party that people can come and like on it, like if it was like a face painting station. They're like, there's that, you go over there, you want to do that, you want to go shoot some pool, you go over there. There's a guy telling jokes in the corner over there. So it was insane. And so I literally, I go over and like people would come sit down for a part of it, then they would leave, then someone else would come. And I remember that was one where you keep checking the watch. And as soon as I did like 40 minutes or whatever the contracted time was, I'm like, good night and bye. And I just got my jacket and I walked straight up. I didn't look at anyone. I didn't talk to anyone. I did my time. and I got out. That was probably the roughest show I've ever done. And that was right here in Alberta.
Yeah, it's just an hour away from Red Deer. And as I mentioned, you've been to Red Deer a lot.
Yeah.
We've used you for, like, you're wearing the Rustlers hat. You've headlined a couple Red Deer Rustlers comedy nights. Honestly, so funny that one of our friends had to leave the show to go throw up the first time you came out for us. So that's a true story, and he knows who he is. So maybe I should have put that in your intro at the beginning. You can start. You can add that to your whoever you hand out to for the shows that you once made a grown man throw up from laughing.
I'll take it.
You've been through Red Deer a lot, obviously grown up in Calgary, not far away. Previously on our show, all 2 episodes of our show, we've talked a lot about Red Deer, people who live here. Again, someone from Calgary, though, your thoughts on Red Deer, it's, kind of part of your show, but, every time you come through Red Deer, I think you actually probably haven't been back since it's been no longer under construction. But what are your thoughts on Red Deer every time you get to come here?
Well, I got to give props to Red Deer because you guys have great venues. It's one of my favorite spots to do comedy locally because it's just a nice drive from Calgary. It's like an hour and a half and I can come back, whip back at night. And I bet I've done probably 20 to 30 shows over the years in Red Deer. There was an old place called Fratters, I think, Speakeasy. That was an amazing room. And then I also have performed in the bowling alley. But I think people will know which one I'm talking about. There's one that does a comedy show. And so Red Deer has always been like a core place for me, especially developing as a comic. A lot of my early shows and my early gigs were in Red Deer. Like I said, at Fratters, at the bowling alley, that type of thing. And so I've found the audiences have always been super fun. And it's the right mix of, like, when I've done the shows with you guys at the bar, it can get rowdy, but in a good way where I feel like people are just excited. I've always found the audiences are very energetic, and even if it gets a little crazy, I'll always take an energetic audience and excited people over, there's other places you go and it's like, it seems like everyone just came from a funeral. There's no music. You can hear a pin drop. There's no energy, right? So.
And what's it like? Even I remember being from Calgary, coming to Red Deer. It's a little bit different, right? Coming from Calgary, big city and that. And, I can't wait though for you to come back and actually get straight into the city. Because I know that's one of your biggest pet peeves is you basically had to go around Red Deer to get into Red Deer. So I'm happy to tell you that that's no longer the case.
Yeah, I do. I like a lot of the road work that's been done. I appreciate that. I do. I also like that there's a Peter's Drive-In. Oh my God, that's a huge addition. Now I think that's been there for a few years, but that's a huge addition. I like that. And I also, sometimes I point this out when I do shows in Red Deer, but I find like the outdoor gym equipment is hilarious to me because there's certain, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like there's certain places where there's like outdoor, and I'm like, that's really, for an Alberta town, really good idea when we have, 3 months of manageable outdoor weather to put, like, let's just put a bench press outside. That's always one of the funniest things.
Yeah, and I can promise you, I've never used it, and I agree. And there's ones I've seen them in High River too, and a couple spots. But yeah, I don't know, I don't get those either. You're talking about just going back a bit, talking about your live shows, the energetic people too. I see you have some clips on YouTube on your social media of dealing with hecklers. Any good heckler stories? I know you deal with it every show, but are there any ones that just got out of control or just really stand out for you?
The most insane one that I've ever experienced was not even necessarily a heckler moment, but the audience literally got into a fist fight with each other. And that was in Edmonton. So I don't think we're surprised. It was in the Yuck Yucks in Edmonton. I was in the middle of a joke and I hear a woman scream and I'm like, my comic brain, I'm like, that's how good that joke is. This joke is killing now. Someone's screaming. And then I look over and sure enough, it's like some guy's running down these stairs and just sucker punches. And then we've got 2 tables having a legit brawl, fighting each other. And so at that point, as a performer, there's some distractions you can battle through. And then there's some that you just have to sit down and let them fizzle out. And a full-on fight between tables is a sit down, let it fizzle out situation. So that was one of the craziest where I've actually seen like the audience fight itself. And then the other weird one that I had was in Abbotsford, there was a guy who was started on my team. Like he was in the front row and he was on my side. He was really enjoying the show. Then he got a little chatty. I had to tell him to not be so chatty. And I think what happened was his booze started hitting him real hard throughout the show. And I know it did because he was doing Jaeger bombs. And anyone who's still doing Jaeger bombs after the year 2007, it's very alarming. And it's going to be a crazy show. And the guy kept being chatty. So eventually I had to kind of tell him to be quiet. And then he actually answered a phone call. Like his phone goes off. And anyone else, when people's phone go off in a show, right, they're clamoring to try and put it on silent. This guy just like calmly picks it up and just starts like, well, where is he? And I'm like, excuse me, this is a live show right now. So I said, you got to get out. And as soon as I told him he had to get out, I don't know if someone in his past used to tell him to get out and it struck a nerve, but dude, he flipped so hard. And then he hid behind the stage and was like whispering threats to me. He went like behind the stage. I would do a joke. He's like, make him laugh, funny boy. We'll see who's laughing after the show. Make him laugh, clown. I'm like, oh my God. So that one was crazy. That one was like insane. And I have not been back since that one.
And now, like after every show, especially if you're in Abbotsford, do you ever kind of feel like someone's behind you when you're performing? Like, does that stick with you? Do you have some PTSD from that guy now? That would suck. And he pulled a double agent on you. Probably think, hey, this guy's on my team. This is going to be my guy. I'm going to make him laugh all night. And then he just pulled a 180 on you.
Yeah. His friends were funny too, because his friends were like, hey man, we really enjoyed the show. Sorry that our friend was going to stab you. And I'm like, stab me? Who's going to stab me? So I don't know. Maybe that's just the norm out there. I'm not going back, so I don't know.
I think it is, at least at some point, I'm going to bring a little sunshine to the show here. I think it was the murder capital of Canada for a long time, at least like per capita. I know Red Deer's right up there in crime. We're not quite number one, but yeah, between Red Deer and Abbotsford, you must feel pretty safe every time you're on the road.
Yeah, congrats, man. Congrats on the ranking for Red Deer as well. I'm really proud of you guys.
One last thing I want to talk about, because I actually was at one of your shows in Calgary last year, almost a year ago, right around Christmas time. And I think about this every day, because I think if I ever get to this point in a relationship, I'd rather be alone for life. But right in front of me is a couple wearing the same sweater. And I want to know if you think about that couple. You probably know exactly who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Do you think about those two every day too, or is it just my weird thing? 'Cause that's got to be one of the weirder things you've probably seen a lot of weird things, but I hope you haven't seen that more than once.
Yeah, I know exactly which one you're talking about. And actually, I think I actually know I do. I have a YouTube video of it, because you're right. There was this couple that had like a joint, what was it? It was like a joint Christmas sweater, right? So they each had their outside arm, but then in the middle, it was just sewn together. And they just sat like that. And I mean, yeah, that is one of the weirder things I've seen. Now, when I see something like that, though, I also know that you wore that because you want it to be noticed, right? So a lot of times I won't even give that to them right away because it's too obvious. But then at a certain point, I was like, I cannot not talk about this. You guys got a joint sweater. But yeah, you were at that show. Hey, how funny is that? That was crazy.
I can never stop thinking about that. It's like I've worn a lot of weird stuff in my life. I'd never do that. Couldn't pay me enough money.
I would never wear any clothes that were like attached to another person. I don't even think I would ride a tandem bicycle. Do you know what I mean? Let alone have a sweater that's sewn to my girlfriend. I don't know, man.
And there's a benefit, I guess, of 2020 in Alberta is that, hey, do you want to wear the same sweater as me? You can't. COVID.
Yeah, but then she'll just say we're a cohort, right? She'll get you. Yeah. She'll still get you.
I guess I'm thinking if a stranger asks you to wear the same sweater, you got an easy out, I guess, at the very least.
Yeah, and I would say if a stranger asks you to wear a sweater that's sewn together, I mean, regardless, pandemic, social distancing or not, I would advise probably no matter what.
Yeah, I guess a pandemic wouldn't be the only reason why you wouldn't do that.
It would be a reason, but yeah, I mean, there's other reasons like murder, pervert. There's some other stuff that would be deterrence, I think, as well. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna let you go, Todd, before we get to 40 minutes, because I do not have $80 to give you for this.
What the heck?
I don't even honestly have $8. Yeah. Oh yeah. This podcast has made probably minus $80 so far, but I really appreciate you coming on here. And again, for everyone, again, if, give you a chance here to plug your album. Again, I've listened to it actually twice now. Really enjoy it. Go ahead and plug your album, plug your podcast and your social media, all that. You could probably speak to it better than I can.
Well, first of all, thank you. Thanks a lot for having me on, man. I really appreciate this. Shout out to Red Deer. I cannot wait to come back and perform. And yeah, in the meantime, I have a brand new podcast. It's called Ness and Around, which is a play on my last name. Get it? Ness, Ness in Around. and I'm doing episodes every single day. It's growing pretty quick right now. So yeah, hop in. I think I'll be at 19 episodes tomorrow. And my album is still up there too, Working Comic. And I hope, like I said, I think it's benefits all of us to put out as much content as possible, because everyone is sitting around looking for things to do. And I'm a fan of podcasts too. And I think the more that I have to listen to, the more fun and the more that I can avoid my just having to confront actual life. The better. So
yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, and again, Nessing around, I've really enjoyed it so far. It's nice to have those daily ones. Again, about a half hour usually or so. So it's like the pretty much the perfect amount. And I say that knowing ours is usually like an hour and a half. But give it a listen. Make sure you check out Working Comic. Follow Todd on social media too. Todd M Ness on Instagram. A great content there, and really it's just a chance for you to support a great local comic, an Alberta guy, and again someone who's really rising the ranks of comedy in Canada. So I can't wait till things open up again. We can see you here. And you know, every time we see you on the national stage, we can say, hey, we got that guy in on our podcast when there was literally nothing else to do. So thanks a lot for that.
Thank you very much, man. And I will say this too. I have a lot of Alberta pride, and I might be a bit biased, but I think especially during this lockdown, we've shown that we often get overlooked for stand-up comedy and for that type of stuff. And I think that one of the things, and you're helping with this, is we got to showcase Alberta, show that we've got the talent, we've got the entertainment. And thank you very much for helping out with that, because I think we'll get our due soon, I think.
No, absolutely. And that's why we wanted to have you. Again, we've seen you a lot. Very funny comic, and always happy to showcase some of Alberta's best. So again, thanks a lot, and take care.
Thank you very much, man. Bye.
So big thanks again to comedian Todd Ness. All four of us have seen him a couple of times. Great comedian. Again, it's great to talk to a stand-up comedian from Alberta, a Calgary product, working his way up the ranks in comedy pretty well. One of the top actually in Canada. So I know you guys have all enjoyed him. So thanks again, Todd, for being on the show.
Man, that guy's funny. I've seen him twice, and he got funnier and funnier each time. I don't know where he comes up with the stuff he does, but it's all gold.
He even said a couple of the same jokes the second time I saw him, and I died crying just as much the second time I heard it.
I think Lund was the heckler that he talked about that was whispering him death threats from behind the stage.
Yeah, were you in Abbotsford at any point at a comedy show?
I think that was at Beau's one night. I saw you sneak back there.
I can honestly say I've never actually been to Abbotsford in my life, so I can guarantee you that wasn't me.
All right, you got an alibi.
Yeah.
I think he just said Abbotsford. He didn't say Red Deer because he was being nice to us.
Well, I went to 2 of his shows in Red Deer, but no, I wouldn't heckle. That's too tough of a job to deal with hecklers.
You'd be with the guy sitting with your girlfriend in the sweater.
Yeah, that sweater haunts my dreams. I didn't make that. I was at that show in Calgary a year ago, and I thought I see them sitting there. And I'm like, okay, he's got to say something about this goddamn sweater. Like these two people. Yeah. Anyways, I don't need to go over it again. But really, really looking forward to, when we can start going to comedy shows, supporting those local comedians. I think, Dustin, you said the first time Todd came through a couple of years ago was the first time you've actually been to like a live comedy show, which is crazy to me. I just love it. So I go to a lot, but it's a great way to spend a night. And again, it's always great to support those people like Todd that are out there working hard, making a living. And like I said, we think we're funny, and then you talk to Todd who does it for a living, and it kind of humbles you a bit.
I laughed quite hard at his Legion comment. The first live comedy show I ever saw was probably 6 or 7 years ago with my wife. It was she's a teacher, an elementary teacher, and they had a Christmas party for all their staff. It was like December 22nd, and it was a comedian at the Red Deer Legion. Great atmosphere when you walk in. Sit down, and it's an elementary school, and so most of the staff are middle-aged women, and the comic was X-rated, like not R-rated. He was X-rated. And the first joke, I kind of looked around like, oh shit, like this isn't going to be good. And I was sitting right beside Kim's principal, and he was laughing so hard, and I thought, all right. And so one teacher ended up getting up in the middle of it and leaving because she was disgusted, but the rest killed themselves laughing. It started out as one of the most awkward nights and ended up really awesome. So 2 thumbs up for comedy shows at Legions.
Well, it's pretty hit or miss with those comedians sometimes. And yeah, I think we all feel pretty safe endorsing Todd though. So when Todd can get back out on the road, whether he comes through Red Deer or you see him somewhere else, absolutely catch that show. And again, I'll plug him one more time, that Workin' Comic on Spotify is a great listen. Probably the second best listen you'll have in the next couple days. We're the first one.
I was wondering where you're going with that. I got it now. Yeah, we're number one.
So before we move any further, again, you know what? We're recording, which means Door Tender is delivered once again. We all got beer. We're all drinking Sawback tonight, a brewery we all really enjoy. And just really quick, go around, let us know what you're drinking, and in a sentence, let us know what you think.
I got the East Coast Pale Ale from Sawback. Never had it before. I think Ryan's drinking the same as me because we lack communication. But really easy drinking craft beer. I'm not a big craft beer guy at all, so I really appreciate the crisp and cleanness to this beer.
Like Dustin said, I also had the East Coast Pale Ale. It's the first time I've tried it. I think it's really good. With craft beer, I usually get full after drinking maybe 3 or 4 of them. With this one, it seems a little bit lighter to me. So I think, like Dustin said, easy drinking. And I know that's what a lot of us are looking for nowadays.
It was a long one sentence or less.
I think it was one sentence. It may have been a run-on. It was run-on, but you didn't give me any other rules. So
Yeah.
run-on sentences are okay.
He took English 30-1. 2. English 30-2.
Are you giving me an insult or a compliment?
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm drinking the Hazy Blonde Ale, as mentioned on the last podcast. Currently my favorite craft beer right now. Just easy drinking. Find I can crush a few, no problem. I like the citrus notes that it has. I'm a big kind of fruity beer guy. I love New England IPAs. This one technically isn't, but it's similar, and that's why I like it so much.
And I've got actually, first time I've ever had it it's a limited release as I'm reading off the can. So good thing I got in on the ground floor here. The Irish Red Ale, really good. I'm a pretty big red ale fan in darker beers. This one's really good. It's definitely up there and one of the better ones I've had in a while. So again, big thanks to Door Tender for delivering once again. Make sure if you haven't yet, download their app, use the code ODEER, all one word, DEER. You'll get $5 off your next order if you haven't yet. And again, you can go, we actually do a full review, or I guess we'll call it a working man's review because we're not craft beer experts. But if you go check out our social media and YouTube page, I think we got 2 more subscribers, so we're really inching towards that 1,000. But do a little more full review there, and yeah, just wanted to start with Sawback. They do a lot for us and all our endeavors and the things we do around the community. So great place to start, and yeah, make sure you try any of these 3 or more. They're on the Door Tender app.
I just want to give it a shout out to Door Tender. I use them on New Year's Eve. Got some Crown Royal and some champagne, and yeah, helped me have a fun night that night.
Yeah, shout out to Door Tender for delivering that to you as well, because I think we all had a fun time on Zoom with you, watching you get through the night.
Watching me ring in the new year.
Yeah,
let me finish your sentence for you.
Hey, by the end of the night, Ryan, how many buttons were left on your shirt?
Too many.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly don't know what you're talking about, Kev. But I'm gonna say all of them because I was respectful of myself and everyone I was with.
And I got to say too, first of all, again, great job, Dustin, for organizing the Zoom years, we'll call it. I know a lot of people, they miss the human contact, they miss partying. I really didn't mind just being at home, comfortable. We're still hanging out virtually. I thought I was going to go to bed at a decent hour. Turns out that was like 3 a.m. instead, but time flies when you're having fun. But, hopefully I know a lot of people did the Zoom years and it's not what we're used to, but man, I think most years I don't want to go out on New Year's anyway. So I actually had one of the better New Year's I've had in quite a while.
I think we'll look back at 2020 and it doesn't feel like it when you're living it, but it's honestly just a blip in time and one day of the year. And at the time, it feels like everything's been taken away from you, that you can't celebrate New Year's with your friends or Christmas with your family. But 5 years from now, we're going to look back when this pandemic's over and think, Jesus, what the hell were we thinking? Like, why didn't we just suck it up for that amount of time and move on and get through this with as least deaths and sickness as we can?
Do you guys remember previous New Year's parties where you would go out or go to a friend's house or go to a pub or bar or whatever, and then you'd say Happy New Year, and then it'd be like, okay, I'm getting tired, time to go home, and then you could never get a cab or an Uber, and it would take you 2 hours. Or if you did get an Uber, you'd have to pay like $100 to go 3 kilometers because of their surge pricing. So by doing it at home this year, I think I saved myself an hour out in the cold and probably $50 to $100 in taxi or Uber costs. So I was all for it this year, just doing a Zoom call.
I think you used that hour, though, getting from the kitchen to the bedroom by the end of the night. Thanks, door tender.
Yeah, thanks, door tender. That's a shout out for you guys. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I agree with Dustin too. I think we've talked about it a couple times already too. And yeah, like 2020 sucked. You know, it's basically the easy thing to do every time something happens. Oh, 2020. But like parts of every year sucked. I think for me personally, like it sucked, but I don't know, I have a hard time complaining about 2020 because the worst thing that happened to me was I was inconvenienced, right? I couldn't go out as much. You know what? 2020 was what it was. And we've already talked about it before. Lots of positive things to come out of it. And I don't think the four of us would be sitting here otherwise right now. I don't think we'd have the time or even the thought to start this podcast. And at least 4 people enjoy it, or maybe 3. I don't think you've listened to it yet. So I don't know if
I've heard good things, man. So keep it up.
Well, and we got these 2 cool microphones now.
Yeah, we're legit.
Yeah, I didn't want you to sound like you're in a tin can anymore. So I stepped up and bought the $30-est mics I could get for you guys. So no expenses. Well, actually, most expenses were too high, but those ones were just right. So again, looking back on 2020, though, you know, if you guys have something memorable about 2020, something to bring from it, maybe for me, it was like technology, social media, everything changed in 2020. Being a social media guy, seeing how much businesses, everyone's pivoted to use technology differently. And the whole Zoom thing, I mean, obviously, when we're allowed to be in person more, we're going to use this technology less. But I think meetings, stuff like that, there's nothing saying on a cold winter night that we don't just have a Zoom poker game, right? So for me, that was kind of one thing that's, I think, coming out of 2020 that's never really going to go away.
Do you guys remember the end of 2019 when everyone was like, "Oh, I'm so done with 2019. Like, thank God it's over." And then like, there's no way 2020 can be worse than 2019. There's a whole bunch of like tweets I was reading about, like that, like show, like not from me because I don't really tweet, but a whole bunch of tweets from the end of last year that were saying stuff like that. And now this year, I'm just worried because everyone's like, "Oh, 2020 was the worst. Thank goodness it's over. We're never gonna have a bad year like that again." And I'm almost a little bit worried that we're gonna jinx it, and then 2021, something else nuts is gonna happen. Maybe not related to a pandemic, but just something that no one sees coming, and that's just gonna make 2020 look like a fantastic year.
That's why I haven't said a thing about like goodbye 2020, good riddance. I'm just riding the wave into 2021.
Yeah, you don't want those tweets to age poorly.
Well, I think number one, it's got to be science, like #science. Who would have thought that scientists from around the world could develop, test, and now start to administer a vaccine in less than a year? That's just absolutely insane, and hopefully gets us out of this pandemic. So that's number one for me. And number two, you guys know this, but the listeners may not. My family owned a business for, I think it was like 75 years, and Northwest Motors was on the corner of Gates for 58, kind of unique. And that building was demolished in 2020. So it was Go Auto's building after Northwest Motors, but now it sits empty and waiting for, I believe, a co-op to be built on it. So kind of unique for my family in 2020 to watch that building go down.
Man, every time I drive by that place and it's just an empty lot now, it just looks so weird not seeing that Northwest Motors building there, because we all grew up with it being on that corner. And well, I guess me, Dustin, and to a lesser extent Kevin when he got here in junior high, grew up with it on that corner. And now it's just an empty, wide open space. I know, yeah, I think you're right, Dustin. I think a co-op's going in there, but it's going to look so weird when that new co-op goes in. And I'm assuming they're going to have a strip mall or something else in there too. But it's just a wide open space now, and like it's a great location because it's one of the busiest roads in Red Deer.
I drove past there the other day and I said to my wife, I said, why don't they, because it's an empty lot right now, obviously. I said, why don't they make that into a cool outdoor rink like a city, like a Central Park in New York? Rockefeller Center put a big
Yeah.
Christmas tree in the middle.
That would be the exact same thing. That couldn't have been a better comparison. Yeah. Now you talk about, and I'll tell you, I hate New Year's resolutions. Personally, I know lots of people make them. Lots of people keep them too. It just seems like what's the difference between you on December 31st and on January 1st? But that leads us into and get your sound effect machine ready, Lund, because that leads us into another edition of Deer Call.
I can't remember what the deer call sounded like.
Oh, that was a foghorn.
I haven't listened.
Dustin, you're about to run into a lighthouse.
I haven't listened to episode 2 yet, so I can't remember what the deer call sound.
All right. Well, I'm glad I threw to you.
It was like you were pronouncing a king.
Yeah. Just, you know what? Just do it how you feel. Doesn't have to be the same every time. All right. I'm sorry I asked. This is and I'm sure Andrew Russell's going to be happy about being associated with that. Deer Call is brought to you by Andrew Russell and Associates, Central Alberta's #1 real estate team. Visit them at andrewrussell.ca. And I'm a little mad at him actually right now for being such a good realtor because our surprise guests in episode 1, Blake and Jen from Stride Physio, they moved out. He found them a house. It's so like I get it. You know, you got a job to do, Andrew, and you're very good at it. But that one, I'm going to be selfish there. They're great neighbors, and that sucks that they're gone. But congratulations to them on a new house, you know, a new family, all that crap.
Yeah, I heard they couldn't stand all the paparazzi outside our house, so they had to move.
I heard they were tired of you guys not shoveling your walks.
Yeah, that's probably that tracks.
Speaking of walks, Teddy, have you gone over and shoveled Mark Horsley's driveway?
I have not yet. No, it's waiting for another good snowfall, and I probably should have done today.
Yeah, it was
it's just
a
little bit. But no, honestly, like I said, Andrew, I'm throwing shade at you for being a good realtor, but
Actually, Andrew, I got some questions for you too about a new place for me or somebody I know.
If you're buying, I'm in. So back to the Deer Call. We asked some people what their New Year's resolutions were. Got a couple answers, and people either don't make them, don't want to share them. Phil, or actually I'm going to say Chef Phil, he wants to focus on his business plan and get the wheels turning to open it. So good New Year's resolution. If that's your goal for 2021, I think it's a pretty good one. And Kathleen just said drink more water, which is, I think, important. If London had more water on New Year's, it might have turned out a little different for him. No, I think as long as you're getting 500 mils a week, I think is the weekly recommendation. So yeah, make sure you're getting that.
The Ted, that's not very much water.
I don't know. I rounded down. So anonymous, I'm going to keep this person anonymous, said, I am going to lose the COVID 30 or my name is not Dustin Moore, is what anonymous said.
Whoa. Another guy has the same name as you, Dustin.
I don't set goals because I know I'm not going to achieve them.
That's your New Year's resolution, is not to make unrealistic goals for yourself. And the last one, Paula said, to help more people feel loved and happy and just simply live happily.
Oh, how do you not love that?
Yeah. So I thought we'd end on that note. But New Year's resolutions, I don't really have any. I think 2021, I just basically want to keep going. I picked up a lot of different good habits actually in 2020. You know, I was sleeping better, I was working out more. Basically want to keep that going into 2021. Like, do any of you have an actual resolution, or are you the same boat? It's just try to be a little bit better every day.
Honestly, my New Year's resolution is just to do the best I can to help everyone get out of this damn pandemic. So if that's wearing a mask every day, so be it. I just want to beat this thing and get the hell out of it.
Oh, that was a lot more profound than I was expecting. But yeah, I agree. And unfortunately, some the people aren't doing that. Not everyone, but apparently if you make the rules for the province, you don't have to follow them. But no, that's a oh boy. I think we're all a little sour on that one, eh? But anyone else got one, or you just want to piggyback on Dustin's? Because that was pretty good.
Yeah, I got a few, I guess. It was early January last year that both me and my wife decided to start going to the gym regularly, on and off for years and at home and all that. And so we signed up with F45 gym in South Red Deer, and it was going great until COVID hit. And thankfully they had some programs where you could keep doing it online. So back at it in the summer and now off again, of course, but still trying to do it at home and just really looking forward to carrying that into another year and hopefully for the rest of my life, to be honest, because it's good for me. It makes me feel good and notice a lot of big benefits along the way. And then second would be, I just trying to stay off my phone more. With my work, I'm on it quite a bit. And I find, at nighttime and stuff, you're still on it when you're with the kids, and really just trying to put it off to the side and and focus more on real world and what's around me. Because if anything, this year has taught us that life can be short, and let's really treasure it and have a lot of fun in the real world.
The phone one was one for me too, especially with my job and now, trying to get this podcast going and that. I think my weekly report was like up to 10 hours a day on my phone. And that is absolutely ridiculous. And I give you props. But yeah, it's a lot. And because I've never to think of doing to work out more as a New Year's resolution, that's pretty cool. I wish someone had told me about that before. That's a good one. Oh, that's also mean to say, but no, it is a good one. And I don't know, Lon, you got any, or are you just going to keep being you? Because I think that's a pretty good resolution too.
Yeah, I mean, you can't improve too much on this, but I think I just thought of one actually when you're talking about Blake and Jen moving out next door. I think so. My resolution is just to be the best damn neighbor to the new people that move in that I can possibly be. So if maybe our new neighbors are listening to this podcast right now, so just know that that's my resolution, to welcome you guys or girls with open arms and to be very, very neighborly.
Again, actually pretty surprisingly good resolutions there. And thanks to everyone who contributed theirs as well. And
I think I'm going to change my New Year's resolution. I'm going to come up with a TikTok dance for 2021.
I think you should take it a step further and vow to be a TikTok star in 2021. And we will help you with that.
I'm going to go with my original one and just come up with one dance, because that seems pretty easy. That seems really easy. So yeah, that's going to be way easier than being nice to my neighbors.
So Lon, now you want to be a TikTok star. You wanted to be a Hallmark card writer. Do you know what? Actually, thinking of this, my dream job right now would probably be to be an MLA. Because you can do whatever the fuck you want, apparently, if you're the ones making the rules. We've skirted around it a bit. Let's talk about that. We're breaking our rule not to talk about politics, but I don't think this is really politics as much as just it's low-hanging fruit right now. It is like everyone's talking about it, and it's just when you thought you could trust a politician. I mean, luckily, this is the first time a politician has ever done anything crooked, or else this would be even more of an outrage. But I don't know. It's... They didn't technically break any rules because lots of people traveled, right? But for me, it's you're the ones making the rules. That's your position. You got to set an example. And it's wild to me that 8 of them went on vacation.
I think we're up to 14 now, Ted, that have been confirmed. And it's kind of crazy that it's gone so nuts on social media. But out of the 14, I think 7 were out of country. It's nuts to me. The hashtags fire Kenny, resign Kenny, and what's the saying that they're saying right now? The do as you, whatever that saying is.
The do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, that one. It's just nuts that people are not being able to go to funerals and their childbirths and weddings and these people are going on family vacations down south. That's just flabbergasting to me. I can't understand it.
First of all, good job on flabbergasted.
That's a big word.
Yeah. I think, like I said, I saw lots of people going on vacation, going to Mexico and stuff, so it's obviously something that can happen. And, and the logic of it is, well, none of these politicians had big family gatherings, which is fair enough. But again, you got to know the position you're in and know that comes with the territory. And you got to sacrifice a little bit to set an example. Because how many people sat home alone at Christmas, didn't get to see any of their family? Again, you mentioned too, people can't go to funerals. People can't do any of that. And these politicians are in Hawaii posting allegedly fake or staged videos and photos too, saying Merry Christmas from their living room, which,
yeah, that's pretty sneaky.
A for effort at least.
Apparently a lot of them do that. They have pre-recorded messages, which is fair, but they're obviously trying to imply that I was home during these dates, which is bull. Now, my personal opinion on this is I don't think anyone should be fired because of this, but I think when it's time to vote again, this is going to be a huge issue. And do you really want to vote somebody in that is not willing to follow their own rules? Who thinks they're better than the rules that they had input on coming up with? That's where I think things should be decided, would be at the polls whenever the next election is.
So Lundy, I'm not calling for anyone's head and asking anyone to be fired per se, and maybe this is a bad comparison, but what are your thoughts on the comparison to athletes right now and their jobs? There's athletes being cut, and being cut is essentially fired from your contract for going to local clubs, breaking their team rules. And it just happened to a Washington football team player, and it's happened in the MLB a couple times. So where's the line?
So for me, Dustin, I think with those teams or those leagues, there were clear-cut rules in place. With the government, there was no formal rules saying that they couldn't travel. It was just like use common sense. They didn't break any rules by traveling, but it just looks really, really bad. And now in Alberta, Kenny has said now there's a formal rule where none of his cabinet members can travel. So for me, that's what the difference is. I think people are going to remember this when it's time to vote again. I really do.
Yeah, during this year, it's obviously an unprecedented time. I've been trying to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, whether it's us private citizens trying to adhere to the rules to politicians. I mean, this hasn't been seen in 100 years, and we all know that the world is a completely different place than it was then. And so, like I say, it's been trying to give everyone a benefit of the doubt, and we don't know what we're doing, and we're just trying to struggle through it. But it just seems that here in Alberta, our government just keeps shooting themselves in the foot. And like you say, it's not that they broke any rules, but it definitely not, they're not showing proper leadership. And that's truly what we need. You look at the States and there's just no leadership there. And it's kind of a gong show right now at the moment. So unfortunately, it seems that Alberta's trending in that direction. And all we can really do is hope that they pull their heads out of their asses and start truly and start being leaders and try and right the ship. We know that the light's at the end of the tunnel here with the vaccinations, and hopefully by fall we're kind of all back to somewhat normal life, but we still got to get there. That's 8-9 months away. So hopefully they can pull up their socks and smarten up, because I don't know what we can do. So
yeah, no, I like that. That's good advice for anyone. Like if your head's up your ass, get it out of there.
Get it out of there.
It shouldn't be there. Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty impressive, number one, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If your head's up your ass, number one, good for you. Number two, get it out of there. But
yeah,
man, I think people right now are probably looking to see if they downloaded the wrong podcast, because I promise we won't get too politicky too often, but that's something going on right now. I know for me, it's something to get off your chest and talk about. And I'm with Kevin too. Tried to reserve my judgment as much as possible, even though, every time new restrictions and stuff comes out, it's easy to judge. Can't imagine being in that position, but I can say with 100% confidence, if I was in that position, I would not be going on vacation. It's crazy to me that that's even a thought.
I don't think they should be penalized other than through public perception, but I just think it's going to be hard for them to look their constituents in the eye and gain their trust back now.
You want to hear my very nerdy grammar loser, whatever you want to call me, thing is, all the hashtags on Twitter, resign Kenny is like the word resign. But the first thing I see is resign Kenny, like hashtag resign Kenny. So it's very nitpicky, but everyone, when you go on Twitter, pick something other than, I know it's, RE-sign if you want to get technical, but the first thing I see is resign Kenny. And maybe there's some people out there. So people might be fighting for different causes with the same hashtags. But.
Dustin only uses the internet to follow sports, so he was instantly on Hockey DB Googling Kenny and trying to figure out who's re-signing that guy.
No, I legit thought he got an offer sheet
from Ontario.
Yeah. So now that we've all flexed our political muscles, and they're probably just as not impressive as my real muscles, but we're going to go back into now, a game we didn't come up with it. Mark Horsley came up with it, and I haven't paid any of my debts for reshoveling yet, and hopefully it's a short winter, but...
I hope that it snows as much as it did a couple days before Christmas.
Yeah, I apologize to the Horsleys for being unavailable that day, but they're very understanding. And
I hope the Horsleys neighbors, next time it snows, just own some snowblowers and then just blow a shitload of snow onto the Horsleys driveway just to double or triple it up, just to make it so much harder for you.
It's all exercise, man. It's all for the greater good. But yeah, now so we're gonna go into Mark Horsley's segment. I don't know. We'll call it Horsley's history for now until we get bored of it or make it better. So again, Lund, you mentioned how reliable Kevin is. He always does what he said to do. And since you got the answer right last time, you were tasked to come up with a question this time.
Yeah.
And you said you would.
Yeah.
And so I came up with one and have it. And I'm guessing I was right to do so.
Yeah, we'll go with yours this week, and we'll do mine next week, I guess.
This Red Deer landmark was built in 1957 and was the tallest of its kind in North America at the time.
I think it's the Green Onion Water Tower.
Well, that was going to be my guess.
That's why I went first.
That was also going to be my guess, but I'm going to say the Capri Hotel.
Do you think that Red Deer had the tallest hotel? Is that your actual answer?
I almost was going to stop you after you said the water tower, and I'm glad I didn't. It is the Green Onion Water Tower.
Yeah.
Now, bonus
How about
points, though. What was its proper name? And this, I had to check this a couple times. I didn't even think this was true.
The Red Deer Water Tower.
I'm going to say the South Red Deer Water Reservoir.
I'll say the big ball of green water.
Well, it'd be a big green ball of water. I don't think the water in it was green.
Goodness gracious. Look at that big ball of green.
It was called the Horton Water Spheroid. Like spheroid. I didn't know that was a word.
That was my next guess.
That sounds like something you need a doctor to remove, like it's some sort of cyst, a water spheroid. How is that a thing? But, we talked about it. That's a big landmark in Red Deer, and tying way back to when Dustin talked about Northwest Motors and that no longer being in Red Deer. For you three guys, this doesn't really apply to me, but I've heard a lot about some of these landmarks in Red Deer. What other big things in Red Deer, like you really enjoy, whatever, looking at, visiting, driving by, or is there any that you really miss that are no longer part of Red Deer?
I actually visited one I really liked tonight, Teddy. Took my kid and my wife to Parkland Nurseries. They put together a nice sculpture walkabout. It's pretty cool, like the work they do out there, and they do a little Christmas thing, and they got a bunch of lights and yeah, it was after Christmas, but cool to see nonetheless.
Oh, but you give Lund a hard time that all his Christmas decorations are still up yesterday, and then you got to pick a side, man.
Parkland Nurseries, it's not Christmas, it's just winter stuff.
So is
our stuff. It's Christmas stuff.
Okay, I tried.
Yeah, sorry. The tree that you have ornaments on in your living room is still Christmas.
Yeah, I would agree with Kevin that that one would fall under the Christmas category. But I think it's fine. The first week of January, that's when you need to take it down. So I have until Friday to take it down. And since we don't know when this is going to air, I have until the 8th, January 8th, I think would be an acceptable time to take down Christmas decorations.
That's fair.
So my landmark isn't so much a landmark, but from playing so much hockey as a kid, the Kin City arenas, those twin arenas, we had so many tournaments there growing up, and there was outdoor rink right beside Kin City too. So when we were super young, I know all the parents liked hanging out at those tournaments too. And I know all the out of town kids that would come in, they all knew where the Kin City arenas were. So for me, it's not really, I don't know if I would call it a landmark, but I think it's a big part of Red Deer's history.
For me, it's a landmark that no longer exists, but it would be the Kin Canyon rocket ship. So for those that don't know, if you go to the Kin Canyon now, and there's the big kind of open area with all the fire pits, there's the hill kind of right up behind the restrooms. And there used to be an old metal framed rocket ship on top of the hill. And it was a play structure that there was a ladder running up the middle of it. And I think it had 2 or 3 different kind of levels or platforms that you climb the ladder, get out and be on that level. And you're on the hill, so you could actually see quite a ways. And I mean, as a kid, it seemed like you're on top of the world. So it was a lot of fun. I remember early on, it was open, it was used. And of course, they deemed it to be dangerous, whether that's true or not. And then I remember it was still up for quite a number of years, but they had blocked it off completely where you couldn't get inside of it. And I'm sure that there was some people trying to climb on the outside of it. And so they eventually took it down. But that was a really unique Red Deer thing. I remember that's one of the first memories I have of Red Deer when I moved here, because I was pretty young, and I thought that was really cool. So it was kind of sad to see that go.
What year did they tear that thing down? Do you know?
Yeah, that sounds like a trivia question, Ryan.
Save it for another episode when you actually come up with. Now you have your question that you can figure it out and use it next time. Yeah, and I think with that, so you guys had talked about that before, and I finally Googled it. I can't believe kids were ever allowed on that thing. I think back to like growing up, some of the playground equipment versus now everything's like, it's recycled rubber where, hey, we could fall 3 stories into a pile of gravel, right? But that must have been good times for the tetanus shot industry in Red Deer with kids climbing on that thing, because I cannot believe that was up for, and again, if I was that age, man, I'd be all over it too, but that looks like an absolute death trap, as were most probably 80s and 90s playground equipment.
With kids, I've toured a lot of the playgrounds in the city, and there's, I think, maybe 3 parks that I've been to that have a merry-go-round. And I mean, that used to be the most common piece of playground equipment on every single playground when we were growing up. And it's basically non-existent now. And I get why, but it's also like, man, kids need to be dangerous sometimes and hurt themselves to figure out what they should and shouldn't do and learn self-control. And it's kind of sad to see.
Bad times for the dental industry since the merry-go-rounds have started to go the way of the dodo.
I was a swing jump champion grades 7 through 9.
Yeah, monkey bars were my game. I just dominated those monkey bars. And then you would start by seeing how many bars you could skip off the beginning. So you would try and, instead of grab the first or second one, you would try and jump to the furthest bar you could. And yeah, there was plenty of injuries because you'd be going for like the 6th or 7th bar when you're only like 3.5 feet tall. And a lot of times you wouldn't make it. So
you were doing the salmon ladder from American Ninja Warrior.
It's the exact same thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I should, maybe that should be my resolution, to go on that show. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah. You got a better chance of being a TikTok star. But man, do you have like the calluses on your hand from the monkey bars? Yeah. We had them in our backyard, so I was on them every day. And people see my hands and like, oh, are you like a weightlifter or an athlete? There's a lot of cool ways to get calluses on your hands. I just said yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. You mean today you have these calluses?
Yeah, I still do.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
They're permanent on mine. And like when I do, once I go to the gym and crush those 5-pounders, my hands, they get all, I don't know what's the word, inflamed. But that's not a cool reason really to have calluses, but I have them. And well, until now, no one needed to know why.
My hands are good now. I thought you meant just back then I would have blisters and probably small calluses built up.
I thought he meant like people are asking him if he was a weightlifter when he was 8 years old.
Yeah. No, I mean like now, like even now people say, oh, but calluses are kind of cool. I said, yeah, most people's are. I would agree.
I know, that's a pretty good story how to get them though. Oh yeah, I was just doing the monkey bars. Sir, you're 32. Time to give it up.
What was your favorite playground game to play?
Oh,
Pogs.
How do you play that one? Oh, I like with the slammer.
How many slammers did you have?
Oh man, I remember getting in fights over losing my slammers.
How many slammers do you have?
I don't have any slammers anymore.
Yeah. The way you jumped, you were really eager to say Pogs. I think you're trying to make it like a thing again and somehow convince us to play Pogs with you. And I got to tell you, I'm in.
Oh no, yeah, we're gonna play Pogs one day.
Yeah, I'll play
in the future. I looked it up on Amazon where to buy them. So
yeah, but I play for keeps. Just FYI.
Yeah, it's keepsies. It's not givesy backsies.
Yeah.
Like, okay, was there many like actual playground games? Like, I remember playing like Grounders.
Grounders is my favorite.
Was there another one?
So is Marco Polo and Grounders pretty much the same?
Marco Polo's a water game, isn't it?
It's a pool. Same concept.
But you can play
you can play it wherever
on the playground. But that one is dangerous because the person who's in it is blindfolded or has their eyes closed. And then they're walking all over this playground.
Well, see, I always played Grounders where like you did have to have your eyes closed.
So that's what I think Marco Polo and Grounders are pretty much the same thing.
I think it depends where you live.
Except with Grounders, they would say Grounders or whatever the rule is whenever they thought somebody was on the ground. Marco Polo, you just say Marco and they say Polo, and then you just have to I don't think you were able to touch the ground in Marco Polo. In Grounders, you were able to go on the ground, but if they said Grounders while you're on there, then you were screwed.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing. I think we're talking about the same thing. Like I don't know, like these. Obviously don't go to playgrounds much anymore or within a couple 100 feet of them. But for you guys with kids, like it's way different. The playgrounds these days versus the ones we grew up on. Like ours were more dangerous and they in a lot of ways were a lot more fun. Now, like a lot of these playgrounds almost promote fitness too while you're at it. Like not outdoor gyms, but man, there's a lot of things like I don't have the core or upper body strength to, go on these playgrounds.
I think playgrounds are somewhat similar to what they used to be. It's just, I think maybe kids' imaginations aren't what they used to be. And I think that's a direct result of maybe the technological world that we're living in. But I know when I was younger and I still lived in Grand Prairie from grade 4 to 6, I have vivid memories. One game we played was Kick the Can, which I think everyone's familiar with. But I just had this core group. There was like 15 of us, boys and girls. And it was every night after supper. And this was before cell phones. So we would just, we'd all meet at our school. And we would literally play around the entire school in teams of Kick the Can. We play that for 3-4 hours. And it was kind of back in the day. It was, when it gets dark, you go home. And then the other one I remember playing at recess is we used to call it tan, but I think other people played it by the name of red ass, which is basically throwing a tennis ball against a wall, and you have to race up there and beat the throw to the wall. And if you don't, you have to stand there with your ass facing someone, and they're standing pretty close, and they get to rifle the ball at you as hard as you can. Hence the name red ass. So the Kick the Can was definitely an after-school game, and Red Ass was a recess game for sure.
And it's bringing back so much nostalgia. Like, remember when you could just like touch other people? Like, those were the days. So kind of off topic. If you guys, maybe it's just me right now watching TV or movies. Now all I think of when I see people is like, man, they are way too close together, or they're touching each other too much. Like, it's only been 9 months, but that's the way my brain works now. Is looking at that, be like, yeah, you can't that's not 6 feet. Like, get out of there. Or am I just a weirdo?
Well, I mean, yeah, you are a weirdo, but
that's kind of open-ended.
Yeah,
question.
I know. I think I do the same thing too. Or I mean, that's how you tell if it's a new show or not, is when they're wearing masks in the show. I hate that.
It's Hollywood. Just pretend. Yeah. Let us pretend.
Yeah. I don't know. I do miss that. At the same time, I know I do feel maybe in like 2 or 3 or 4 years down the road, we are going to get back to not worrying about social distancing. I think it's going to take a bit of time. I don't think in 2021 it's going to happen, but beyond that, hopefully we're able to high five and get closer.
Yeah. And I shouldn't complain too much, because I'm a guy who likes my space bubble. I think there's, close talkers and that there's no excuse. Hopefully Kenny finds a way, or whoever's in power while Kenny's in Hawaii. But, hopefully they find a way to make close talking just against the rules forever, just because it's kind of gross.
make it illegal.
And all right, you know what? Ted Emmett 2024. I'm gonna run just to make outlaw close talking.
All right, you heard it here first, oh dear fans. Ted Emmett hates close talking, and he's running for premier.
I'll light jog for premier. Let's be honest.
All right.
All right. Well, I think now it's time to move on again. The end of the episode, which is exciting for people because we're almost at the end, but time for a little more fun and games. And Matt, we got a couple more episodes of this. I think after episode 4, I'm going to have to think of some new material, but now it's time to learn a little bit more about Dustin. So Kevin, it's your turn to ask London and I some questions about Dustin, and we'll see if either of us are right, or even if what you think is right. And Dustin, if your favorite number isn't what we think it is, please tell us right away and don't make us live that lie. So this one, I worked pretty hard on the name because, the other names have been pretty not bad. So this segment is called The More You Know.
Oh,
whoa.
Lundy doesn't even get it over there.
No, I get it. It's like that NBC star that shoots across the screen.
Yeah, and his last name's Moore, so it's like the more you know, but also he's the more we know. There's a lot of layers to it, man. I worked really hard on that.
Well done, man. Well done.
All right, question number 1. We've talked a lot about Dustin's family owning Northwest Motors over the years. So as part of that, in high school, he was able to get decommissioned cop car, or at least that's the story he told us. What type of car was it that he drove in high school?
Well, you'd know this more than me. I've never even heard that. I just got to guess that it's like a Crown Victoria, because I usually mistake those for cop cars, but that's just a guess.
Yeah, I have no idea what he drove in high school. Crown Vic's a great guess. I'll go with an Impala.
Kev, you got to know.
I think it's a Dodge Avenger.
Nailed it.
What color was it?
It was a gold Dodge Avenger. And the one night I fell, I was tenting in a backyard at a party, and I was getting my tent out of my car, and I slipped and I fell, and I pulled the door handle off. And the only door handle my dad had at the dealership was a white one. And so my Dodge Avenger became a gold Dodge Avenger with a white handle.
Sounds pretty cool.
All right, so when me and Dustin were 18 years old, we got tattoos together. Where on Dustin's body is his?
Dustin's, I believe it's like between his shoulder blades.
Oh, geez, I've seen his naked body way too many times, and I can't picture where that tattoo is.
Then you know it's not on the front.
It might be on the front.
It just clicked that it is not, in fact, on the front.
It's not on the front. That's what I meant to say. I'll go. It's on his right shoulder blade.
So Ted's right, between the shoulder blades, kind of like at the top of the spine, base of the neck.
You are correct.
Okay, here's the next question. Well, what is it? There's 3 elements minimum that you need to answer.
So from what I remember, it says his name. So that's one element.
First or last name?
It better be his last name. Pretty weird if he had his first name.
Or wait, you got them together. Does it say Kevin?
Oh, does it say Kevin? Oh, it says Kevin's name. Yeah. That would be pretty cute.
The classic mix-up. Yeah. I was gonna say there's a Canadian flag in there, and something to do with hockey.
Yeah, hockey.
I think
sticks.
there's like hockey sticks.
Yeah.
In it or something like that.
Let's go with those 3.
Oh, I think now that I think there might be hockey sticks in there. So I had name more. I think you have your year of birth, which is 86 in there. And the big part of it is a maple leaf. So that could be that's more Canadian, not necessarily hockey. But now that I think about it, there might be some hockey sticks in there as well.
It's the classic 18-year-old hockey tattoo.
Yeah.
I wore white sunglasses and had puka shells too.
Hey, I've got a calf tattoo I got when I was 19, which I found out is not very cool. So yeah, I can't judge too much.
Yeah, no, man, that's super cool.
Maybe we can run some really shitty contest so that Dustin has to show us his tattoo.
I thought like the contest should be someone gets to tattoo Dustin. That'd be a better contest.
Yeah, let's do a contest where the loser has to get a tattoo. I've been looking for an excuse anyway.
Let's worry about the one contest you're in first.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess I'll give you guys each a point there.
All right, that's fair.
Dustin attended an East Coast Hockey League training camp as a tryout. What city was that in?
I know it's down in the States, and I'm gonna say
you're really narrowing it down now.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Boston.
It's a little bit of a trick question, a little bit, the way you worded it.
Yeah, because I thought I was positive that you went for like a AHL. I thought you went for a tryout in San Antonio. I feel like I've heard that story.
You nailed it.
Because I think you had a contract in the East Coast League, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you, Brent Sutter. You sold me.
Hope they kept the receipt.
They did.
So this is a pretty subjective question, but we'll see. Ultimately, my answer is the right answer.
Oh, I like it.
What is Dustin's biggest hockey achievement?
Ooh. Well, what's funny, I feel like I brought this up and because he forgot about it once. I know like I hate it, but he's in the Hockey Hall of Fame, or like his gloves and stick or something like that are in the Hockey Hall of Fame from the Viking Cup for a points record. So I wonder, I have a feeling because it's subjective, that's not the right answer, but I think it's got to be up there.
I know Dustin I can't remember the name of it, but it's like the university or the colleges. He was on Team Canada, and I think they went over to
the World University Games. I think.
Yeah, World University Games, and they went over to China, China.
Yeah, China.
So that'd be my vote.
Playing on my line in the long ball bombers. No, both good answers. Really good answers. Ted was right, actually. I had Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Me and 3 of the guys I played with on the Olds Grizzlies got selected to play for the AJHL South team in the Viking Cup against like Finland, and there was a bunch of different countries, and the Americans they brought their under 18 team, and all the other teams were U20s. Or the AJHL teams were U20s, so we were a little older. But that year, Kyle Okposo and Alex Stalock were on the American team, and Trevor Lewis, so 3 NHLers. And I ended up having a really good tournament, and we ended up losing the gold medal game. But I had 16 points in 6 games or something. Got pretty lucky, and they came and took my jersey after, which I thought was pretty cool, and ended up in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and found out after that Henrik Zetterberg and there's a few other Europeans that had played in that tournament that I ended up with more points as. So that's going to my grave with me. That's a pretty cool achievement.
So It's the right answer.
It's the right answer.
Nice.
Teddy brought it up a while back. I totally told, you kind of forget as you move on. It's because it's in Toronto and the Canada jersey behind me is a pretty cool achievement too, but it would have to be Hockey Hall of Fame.
We joke about your hockey career, but yeah, it's a pretty amazing feat. And it all led you to doing a podcast in your basement on the weekend. So congrats, man. Way to go.
Yeah, you're trending up.
I regret nothing.
Okay, next question. Can you beat him at a beer chugging contest?
No.
No, I can't.
And my answer is no.
Like maybe overall volume, maybe, but not speed.
This body's built for speed, baby.
Yeah, and Lund's is built for endurance.
Yeah, you got it, Kev. You got it.
Both of them brought to you by Burger King.
You used to be a long distance runner. Now you're a long distance drinker.
Hey, I adapt.
So for those that don't know, Dustin can drink a pint of beer incredibly fast. What, 4 gulps, maybe?
Yeah, I don't even know. I haven't done it in a while. I might have to do one for the podcast one day.
All right. Future content. We're going to see his tattoo while he chugs a beer.
Yeah, what is it, like 2.5 seconds? 2 seconds, Dust?
I think it's quicker.
Under 2 seconds. Wow. All right. Well, I mean, you still have to prove it, I guess. But
yeah, we'll prove it.
Man, I'd love to live in a world where under 2 seconds is impressive. All right. So I guess we'd say we know a lot more about Dustin than we know about any of the rest of each other. So I don't know, draw your own conclusions there, but certainly led a very rich life, I guess, that we've learned, and a lot of stories to go with that. So thanks everyone for hanging on. Now, a story that's in the making is the time Dustin or Lund had to get their chest waxed. Hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen to one of you. Dustin's up 2-0 now in this competition. Lund, you don't want to fall back 3-0. That's a tough hill to climb. So keeping it simple this time, mainly because I waited until like an hour before we did this to come up with the game. So Kevin and I are going to take turns here. We're just going to give you some Alberta trivia. Grab your boards here. Basically, you're going to have to write down your answer and show it at the same time so that you can't try and copy each other's answer. So we're going to start off a little easy.
Question number 1. What is the provincial flower of Alberta?
oh crap,
Wild
rose.
Yeah, wild rose is the answer. The wild rose is prominent all over Alberta and was granted flower emblem status in 1930.
Wow, and you knew that without looking at it. I didn't
wow.
even write that down for Walsh. That's pretty impressive. So, all right, so it's a tie, 1-1. Walsh helped me keep score because as I found in the first episode, I'm not good at keeping track. All right, so true or false, in 2004, West Edmonton Mall was the largest mall in the world.
Oh, that's gotta be
True.
That actually is false.
Shoot.
West Ed was the largest until 2004 when the Dubai Mall opened its doors in Dubai.
Oh, wow.
So still 1-1.
Question 3. Which town is world famous for the ice cream shop McKay's?
McKay's.
I'll give you a hint. It's in Alberta.
Yeah.
I'm going on away.
I'll go Innisfail.
The answer is Cochrane. James and Christina McKay took over the general store in Cochrane in 1946.
All right, so that's 2 wrong in a row for both of you. Number 4, I really wish I picked a different question. So let's all be adults about this. And don't say Red Deer. Which Alberta town boasts the world's largest sausage? This one's actually a pretty hard one, but it's a fun fact.
Vermilion.
Three Hills.
It's Mundare. The monument was built to mark the home of the world's best Ukrainian sausage. I've driven through there. It looks like a lot of things from a lot of different angles, none of which is a sausage.
Where is Mundare?
I think it's like an hour east of Edmonton.
Oh man,
I believe, yeah.
I was close to Mundare.
Yeah, if you're going that way, it's worth a stop. Eastern Alberta has a lot of large things. There's the Easter egg, there's the sausage. Somewhere has the world's largest mallard, a weird northeastern Alberta thing, I should say.
Question number 5. Which river flows through Edmonton?
North Saskatchewan.
I just have Saskatchewan.
Oh, no, I don't think.
Are they two different rivers?
Yep.
Yeah, I would have to say that's 2-1, Dustin.
Well, we're gonna have to look this up.
We'll look at the tape later.
Yeah. All right. True or false? In 2006, the Petro-Canada building in Calgary was the tallest building in Canada, not located in Toronto.
True.
True.
Yeah, you both got that one. It is 215 meters tall, but 14 years ago, so there's a lot bigger buildings around Canada now. So that's 3-2, Dustin.
All right, question 7. This town south of Calgary got its name from the Blackfoot word that describes the giant rock that sits just outside of town. Oh, he's got it. He's quick.
No, I have no idea.
Siksika.
Okotoks.
Oh, Lundy, Okotoks. The Okotoks erratic comes from the Blackfoot word for rock, which is Okatok.
Yeah, everyone knows that.
That's impressive.
Tie game.
3 questions left, and I was smart enough to do a tiebreaker this time just in case. So question number 8, man, this is so easy. At what degree of northern latitude is Alberta's northern border located? Is it A, 55 degrees, B, 58 degrees, C, 60 degrees, or D, 65 degrees?
C.
A, 55.
Ryan Lund takes a 4-3 lead. It is 60 degrees, and I had some fun fact. But there's no such thing as a fun fact about that. So we'll just move on. 4-3, 2 questions left.
Okay, question 9. True or false? Rough fescue is the official grass of Alberta.
Oh God, it's everywhere.
False.
False.
True. Its scientific name is Festuca scabrella and was given the status of provincial grass in 2003.
I'm glad I didn't have to say that one. You did pretty good.
That's a good fact, Ed. Did not know that we had an official grass.
Yeah.
Fescue.
I didn't either. That's why I threw it in. The things you learn when you just research stuff.
No. Wow.
Jeez.
All right, so I just have to tie him with this.
Yeah, you
this
just
answer.
Just,
hey?
Yeah. And this one, I think this one's not too hard. So Alberta boasts 5 different national parks. Which one is Canada's oldest?
Ugh.
Banff.
Banff.
Well, it doesn't matter, but it is the correct answer.
Yeah.
So Ryan Lund back in the game.
Oh, I
But
told
a
you
close
last time.
one. That's a 5-4 win. So you still only got half of them right. But
That's all. Yeah, I just did enough. Woo! Deer call.
well, it's a high note to end on, which is that's a new thing for you. Took 3 episodes, but you get to go into the end of this feeling pretty good.
I told you. I gave you a warning that I was going to sweep you after last week, and I followed through on my promise.
Well, no, you won 1.
Yeah.
You followed through on part 1 of your promise.
Part 1 of 5. It's a 5-step plan. You want to know what step 2 is?
Winning the next one.
Yeah. Do you want to know what step 3 is?
No. That pretty much does it for episode 3. Again, we bump and grind our way to the end here. Thanks a lot for sticking with us. And didn't say it off the top, but again, we didn't know if episode 1 was kind of an anomaly or not. It hasn't been. We've still seen some great support. So thanks again to everyone who's listening and keeps listening, following us on social media and interacting with us. Again, at Oh Dear Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Make sure you follow along with us. We're trying to do some contests every now and then. So big shout out again to Door Tender. Gave away those 4 $25 gift cards for people to use on New Year's Eve there. And Bose, again, too, put together that great gift basket as well. So congratulations too to all our winners on those. Keep your eyes open for more contests. And I promise you, I will never offer to shovel another driveway, but we're still going to give away lots of great stuff. So any closing remarks, final thoughts, or dare I say, would you like to impart any wisdom as we close out episode 3?
No wisdom here.
Stay safe, stay smart, and looking forward to our new normal.
Yeah, and have fun. We have a great weather forecast coming up, so get outside and enjoy the nice weather. Because at some point we're getting hit with a week of minus 40.
I'd also like to give a shout out to everyone that's listened to us. I know it's a lot more people than we had initially expected. So thanks a lot for taking an hour or 2 out of your busy days.
Yeah, and you know what? That wraps it up perfectly. So once again, for Dustin Moore, Kevin Walsh, Ryan Lund, I'm Ted Emmett, and I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, my tattoo is less lame than Dustin.